Going on? Let's talk about confrontation and how do we handle it as from a Luciferian approach. Okay, we're going to talk about Set, Lucifer Prometheus, and Apep, the ideological framework of integration with all these four. Now, I'm working with Set right now, and there's been confrontation, and I will never stand down confrontation. Never. I handle it by myself. And it's funny because I see people not doing that. Okay, now we're going to talk about all these four and the key points and what you can learn from this. Now, Set stands for his endurance and confrontation. Set represents the storm, okay, strength, through trials. Of course, you're gonna have to go through trials. He governs disruption, isolation, and resistance, not as moral evil, okay? Get that out, but as a necessary pressure for you to evolve. He confronts stagnation and forcing adaptation. He teaches obstacles are not signs of failure, but tests that reveal everything, okay? He wants you to accept confrontation on a path of sovereignty. Now, the principle of working with Lord Set is power must be forged, not inherited. You're not given power, it's forged, okay? It's made. Now, we bring in Lucifer. Lucifer stands for illumination, self-knowledge. Lucifer embodies the ideology of awakening through awareness. He represents insight, critical thought, and refusal to accept imposed identities, which are given to you through life. Lucifer is not overthrown blindly, and he reveals, he clarifies, he insists that liberation begins with seeing clearly, especially one's own shadows and illusions, okay, and internalized constraints within yourself. So the key principle when you're integrating Lucifer is what's unconscious controls you. What's illuminated becomes yours. Okay, that's yours. Whew, Lucifer, he's crazy. Prometheus, ideology of process through risk. Prometheus risked a lot for helping humanity. Prometheus represents the ideology of advancement through responsibility, taking responsibility. He brings fire to knowledge, culture, innovation. He defines limitation but accepts the consequences. Okay, Promethean values growth, learning, and creative transgressions, balanced and accountability for your outcomes. Prometheus is a powerful being to integrate. Now, the key principles with Prometheus is process demands courage and consequence. A process that demands courage and consequence, okay? There's consequences to everything. Now, Apep, the serpent, the pure chaos, we're set. Well, we'll talk about this after. Apep is unconscious dissolution. Apep is not an ideology to adapt, but to condition to avoid. He symbolizes without awareness, fear-driven, collapse and chaos untempered by purpose. Apep arises the force that lacks things when growth is pursued without grounding. Like he is chaos uncontrolled, which represents unconscious chaos. It consumes you, obsessions, you know. But that's why Set is able to hold that shit down. So we're going to talk about a step-by-step integration framework on sentient endurance of Luciferian illumination work together ideologically, okay, with a Promethean process, while consciously preventing an Apep-like collapse in your life. So step one, Luciferian illumination, the conscious awareness. Begin with honest self-examination, okay? Examine yourself and be honest about it. Identify, internalize beliefs that limit yourself. Observe fear responses and compulsions, obsessions, compulsions. Question authority, external and internal. Now, the ideological practices of daily reflection focus on why you think, fear, or act the way you do. It's hard for us to look within ourselves, but once you start doing it, you do it. And the purpose of this is to prevent blind confrontation. Okay, you don't want confrontation that you don't see. Now, step 2, sentient alignment, disciplined confrontation. There's a difference, right? Apply controlled force informed by awareness. Confront one obstacle directly at a time. Establish boundaries without access. And avoidance patterns. Stop avoiding things. Confront them. It's not going away. You're just ideological practice. Choose deliberate action over comfort consistently. Consistently. Now, the purpose you do this is to build resistance and self-command. Commanding a self. Instead of the unconscious chaos of Apep. Now, step 3, the Promethean application, directed advancement. Sorry, background noise is bad. Transform strength into constructive processes. Learn, build, create, despite the resistance. The more it resists, the more it persists. The more you resist, the more it persists. Accept without recklessness. Use knowledge to expand your knowledge. Ideological practices. Take measured risks and advance long-term sovereignty. The purpose of all of this is to convert endurance into evolution. We're trying to evolve our spirits. We work on ourselves, especially on this path. It is always working on ourselves. It's a lot of work to work on yourself. Guarding against Apep, maintaining balance, actively represents dissolution by monitoring your access. Watch for obsessions in your life and burnouts. Reground identity. Reground when your identity narrows and hardens. Restore your awareness when impulse dominates. Okay, I am impulsive, very impulsive. Now, your ideological practice, regular, through rest and embodiment of reflection. Rest, reflect. The purpose is to maintain coherence. Okay. It's a lot of work, but once you start doing this, and once you start working with these beings, it comes together. The integration. Now, for step 5, integration, sovereign, ideological balance. When you integrate correctly, and Lucifer governs perception, Set governs endurance and action, Prometheus governs growth and contribution. Okay, and Apep is neutralized through consciousness. We can see Apep's energy very around the whole world now. This results in self-sovereignty, guided by insight, strength, restrained by awareness, and process, and it's progressed, rooted in responsibility of accountability. So integrating these 4 will really help you evolve. Set and Lucifer are not opposites. They represent a force of vision within a single ideological current. Okay, Lucifer reveals the path. Set walks through the storm and isolation. Prometheus carries fire forward, and Apep is kept at bay by awareness. Together, they form an ideology of becoming through confrontation, clarity, consciousness, and evolution. motion, get away from the stagnation. I'm working with Set right now, and I love it because he is bringing forth confrontation, but integrating these four correctly, you will be able to deal and handle things in your life a lot better. All right. Well, I'm going to give you a brief Luciferian sentient approach to conflict. Something that I don't always do, okay? But I'm going to talk to you about this. From a Luciferian perspective, conflict must be met with awareness, with no reaction. Therefore, before engaging, one illuminates the situation. We think about the situation before we react with emotion. Now we think about the motives, power dynamics, emotional triggers, and unspoken fears. You got to think about all of this stuff before you engage in conflict and a Luciferian approach. Do I do this all the time? No, I do not. I'm not perfect. Okay, but I do reflect back and I look at the situation of how I can handle it differently, which is important, right? Now, conflict must be understood before it's engaged. The clarity prevents the projection, the escalation, and the self-sabotage, right? In anything that we do in our life, we can't avoid conflicts. It's what gives you your power if you do it correctly. The negotiation with another person, in a way, okay? Set governs how the conflict is handled. Set does not seek chaos for its own sake. He embodies and controls force. Okay, he controls the force, and with a very unyielding presence. Okay, through Set, one confronts directly and establishes firm boundaries. Okay, Set establishes boundaries and refuses submission without resorting to access. Okay, never submit. Do not fucking figure it out. Do it the way like this, and with a sentient approach is not an emotional. It's not emotional polarity, but a steadfast pressure, standing one's ground without apology, or don't apologize for standing your ground. Say what you want to say. Speak up. We need that. We need people to speak up, especially in the world politics and stuff like that. But when you're working with Lucifer and Set, together they form a disciplined method. And I think that's what it is learning how to hold down a confrontation with a disciplined method. Lucifer sees the truth of the conflict, and Set endures and acts without collapse. Okay. The whole goal of all of this is not domination. Okay. It's not. Or destruction, but more resolution through strength and self-command. Learning how to command yourself. Learning not to let your emotions command you. Conflict becomes a proven ground where clarity guides force, and the force protects sovereignty. You're protecting your sovereignty. If someone can get you so upset and frustrated, you're giving them the power. You're giving them the power. A lot of times, when I lose my power and I blow up, I have to go back and I'm like, motherfucker, that fucking person controlled me. I got my emotions up. But in essence, Lucifer reveals what must be addressed, and Set endures, he ensures you do not retreat or fracture. Okay, conflict becomes refinement, not ruin. You're refining yourself. Okay, you're not going to ruin yourself. I wish I handled conflict a lot better. I still struggle with this. This is something that I do have to work on, because I do lose my temper, because of my emotions and because of my my stuff that I still have to work on. But it reveals what I still have to work on, right? I have a way that I want to handle certain things, and when I get to that point, you know, I'll be very refined and I'll have my sovereignty. So don't think of conflict as this, oh my God, thing. Think of it as a way to refine yourself and an opportunity to become stronger. And don't back down, don't stand down. Do what you have to do for yourself to illuminate, to bring forward what needs to be addressed. You know, yeah. And that's all I'm going to talk about this. So I hope this helped people out there that might be going through this. Use your brain. Use your mind. Think Luciferian. Think of Lucifer and Set and Apep. Think of these deities as a guiding force on how to refine and crystallize yourself and your soul and your mind. All right, that's it.